That's not my style. So, well, I would say honestly, it's 7:05, 7:06. We'll talk here another minute. And if no one clicks into the, we'll just call it a night and we'll just do another one down the road. I love
Okay.
doing the Q&A and seeing what's going on with people. And so, yeah, I'll share a couple things here real quick. So I was talking to one of my inside sources that I can't reveal their name, actually today, and he was giving me some intel from one of the major peer-to-peer platforms. And he was saying that bookings are down about 30% this year compared to last year. And we were kind of going through why we thought that was. He kind of had one thought, I had another thought.
Mm-hmm.
One thing he did tell me was that, the platforms are literally putting out millions and millions of dollars, marketing dollars. So it's not like bookings are down because, they're not marketing to try and find renters. Which was actually kind of an interesting point that he brought up. The two major platforms out there, if you go online and kind of do some research on them the last several years, it's kind of been like a war to the finish line, kind of like Airbnb and VRBO had several years ago, and Airbnb kind of came out as the victor, and then there's the smaller companies kind of were consumed by each other and this and that. I think Travelocity bought one, and all these different transitions took place. So what he was saying, which was really interesting, was that these companies literally have tens of millions of dollars of investments that were put into them, the last 5 years or so. So with that being said, they got to produce results for their investors. So it's really interesting that, the bookings are down the way that they are. My thought on that from conversations with others in the industry is, during COVID, we had this, it was slow, and then all of a sudden things just went crazy as people started, traveling and mobile quarantine and being outside and all that kind of stuff. What happened is once things got slow off initially, what the platforms did is they put all their marketing efforts into building inventory. So literally during COVID, what happened is, I'm not going to say any of the platforms' names, but one of the platforms, their inventory literally almost doubled from like 20,000 available units that you could search to 40,000. So that, to me, is one of the major reasons that I think we're seeing what we're seeing now. Is there's so much inventory now, that people have a lot more to pick from. And, with that being said, and now international travel is open again. And so people that, might have been going to Mexico, overseas, all those different kinds of trips during COVID, they were doing the RVing because that was, still an option, for them once that opened back up. Those people are back to that kind of traveling. So you got kind of this perfect storm of, you've got a huge amount of inventory now. And you've got people that have all kinds of options for traveling. And so, it'll level back out. People are going to leave, the peer-to-peer platforms, people, it's kind of like a timeshare, all these people this huge spike of purchases during COVID, people are going to go back to their old ways of traveling, or they're going to realize they don't use the RV, and so they're going to sell it. And so, or they're going to rent it out 1 or 2 or 3 times and realize it's not for them, and they're going to leave the platforms. So it's definitely going to level out, I think. So that's cool. And for like people like ourselves that are in the RV rental management space, for us, this is like what one of my mentors, Russell Bronson, calls a blue ocean. Like there's this huge opportunity right now to find units to manage, on others' behalf that they aren't using it because they're back to their old style of traveling, or even heck, like sports were closed down, stuff like that. Now that's all open again. So now people aren't, doing that as much because now they're back on the travel baseball leagues or all the different things that they're doing. So it's really kind of a perfect storm where a lot of people, plus, there's this huge talk that we have, recession coming, which a lot of the big financial gurus are, very, confident that, the guys that, no, I don't study recessions in the markets and this and that, but the guys that I follow that do, they're saying that's going to happen. So when that happens, everybody gets fearful. And one thing that I think is really cool that I've learned the last couple of years is when people get fearful, that's actually when you're in the best environment for opportunity. So like what we do in the RV rental management space, we have a huge blue ocean of opportunity before us to build up our management fleet and to really stand out above the rest, in regards to us doing this full time. So we're going to come out on the other side, I think, booming. I mean, we've already been seeing that, haven't we, Stacy? We've got franchises that are just popping up left and right. We just had another one in Tennessee. Actually, I didn't tell you this. We actually just had another sign up in Tennessee today. So we've got 2 in Tennessee. We had the California last week. We're 21 locations now, I think. So people that are entrepreneurial minded, they get it, like they see the opportunity. I saw somewhere, I think it was a Tony Robbins video I was watching recently. They said more millionaires were actually created during COVID than like the last, I forget how many years. I won't say because I forget the exact amount of years, but literally like when the pandemic was happening, a lot of businesses were going under. There was like an all-time record for the amount of millionaires that were created in that short period of time. They actually say millionaires are actually created. When millionaires are created, it's actually in short periods of time. Like it's actually easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than it is to make it in a long period of time. So those are some interesting, pieces of data that are out there with the economy and the peer-to-peer space. Heck, I've seen you can rent your swimming pool now. Have you seen that? It's called
I haven't seen that one. I've seen something for like dogs. You can rent out like your yard for people to stop and use it for like a play area for their dogs when traveling.
Yeah. So the peer-to-peer industry, it's here to stay. That's definitely not a question by any means, because this rent your swim pool, that's called Swimly. You can rent your garage, you can rent your yard. I mean, you can pretty much, you name it, you can rent it nowadays. So that's cool. And, see, now you got me talking, so I'll keep going. So with the RV space, I've been getting a lot of people asking me lately, like, okay, so is this like a fad, it's here, it kind of had this cool high and now it's coming down, which that has nothing to do with the space in general. That was more to do with COVID and the economy. Is it here to stay, And what I want to encourage people, the first point that I typically make is I usually talk about RV rental insurance, which is actually really interesting because that's one of the goofy things in the RV rental peer-to-peer space is like the insurance. It seems like it's always changing this and that. We're trying to figure that out. But the interesting thing that really proves the point of the RV rental industry is the RV rental insurance industry was actually founded in 1978. And that's the year I was born. So that's why I always remember that date. So I've met the founder of the company is called MBA Insurance in Arizona. I've met the founder of MBA Insurance. I've been to a couple of his conferences in Vegas. He started this industry in 1978, and it wasn't for like me and you that were renting their RVs. It was for dealerships that were in the RV rental space. And, it exploded into this huge, business because back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, RV dealerships, that was a large part of their business model was RV rentals. And then what happened is, I don't know the exact reason why, I have my speculations why is But the RV dealerships started getting out of the RV rental space, and kind of my speculation on why that is they realized, well, you know, service and warranty work and all that kind of stuff, because the factory started cranking these RVs out as RVing, gained popularity 2015, 16, 17. There was companies that went public, all kinds of crazy things happened in the space. And so I think the RV dealerships realized, hey, you know what? There's actually more money in us adding bays to our tech side of our business and selling warranties and selling the RVs than actually the rental side. And I think what they did for the rental side, it was more of a lead generator for them. They would, make money. There's great money in it, as we all know. But they would, for them, it was more of, they send somebody out on a trip, they get them back, they're all excited, right? It's kind of like you go to a timeshare presentation while you're on the vacation, you're super excited, so you buy the timeshare. I did that on my honeymoon. I bought the timeshare on my honeymoon. And so, yeah, people will come back from these rentals to the dealerships and they would, purchase an RV. And I think they got to the point, with the perfect storm of, hey, we're making a bunch of money on the tech side. We don't really need this as a lead generation anymore. So there was like a mass exodus for several reasons of the dealerships getting out of the rental space. Well, then what happened is 2014-ish, you've got a guy who goes RVing with his family and he gets back from RVing and he realizes, man, I want to rent this RV out. And he realizes there's no platform for it. And that's how RV Share was born, was out of that. Literally, like how many, like my story, for those of y'all that don't know it, was I bought my wife an RV for a 10-year wedding anniversary. She was 8 months pregnant. It was July. She was miserable, hot. We were at Grand Haven Beach in Michigan, where it's literally like cement, sand, and sun. And she says, okay, I'm going home. And we just got to this campground that we're going to be at for a week. So my entrepreneurial mind, because I have a real estate background and I bought, scaled, and sold several businesses, was instantly, okay, I need to rent this, So I started renting it, and that's kind of how Fireside was born. And then I got into the management and everything, But so that's kind of, the history of the RV rental industry. So when people ask, is this a fad? Is this going away? No, it's not a fad, because this industry has actually been here since the 70s. It just went through a transition of where the dealerships jumped out, and then RV Share was born, and then Outdoorsy was born, and Camp Anda, and all the, several that we've already seen come and go throughout the years. And then it exploded, like I just mentioned a minute ago. Now, you look on one of the platforms, there's 40,000 units, which a couple of years ago, there was 20,000 units, which really, too, honestly, isn't even a ton when you look at, there's over 10 million Americans that own RVs. And then you'll actually look, if you actually go on some of the peer-to-peer platforms now, you actually see RV dealerships getting back into the space, which now it's, how I mentioned earlier, the blue ocean. Now on that side of it, it's more of a red ocean. You can search most any area and find 5, 10, 20 RVs that you can rent within a 20-mile radius. So now you see the RV dealerships are actually trying to jump back into this space, but they're kind of too late. As far as they can't come back in and dominate like they did before. It's just not going to happen, because they have so much more overhead, than Joe Blow, who's renting his camper, who doesn't have all that overhead of the brick and mortar and the marketing and the, insurance and all the kinds of things that they have to have that an actual brick and mortar business has. That's another thing that I love about the RV rental management business is it's OPRV is what I call it, other people's RVs. You don't have all that overhead as a management company. You're simply managing the asset for the owner. So very low overhead, very high profit. So fast forward to today. Yep, we've kind of had a slow start to the season. Maybe different areas, aren't experiencing that as much, but we've kind of had a slow start to the season. And this is where, like my locations that have been around for years, they're not necessarily experiencing that as much because, and there might be other youth out there that aren't experiencing this as much. And the reason why is because you've actually maybe you've owned a business before, or you're part of, a business like mine, where you've got a database of tens of thousands of renters. So you're not just relying on the peer-to-peer platform to send you a lead. So you're literally emailing them, and you're in communication with them on a weekly, monthly basis. They're following you on your social media. You're creating videos and blog posts and 5 tips for your next trip. And you're actually planting ideas in their mind, right? You're doing some asymmetrical marketing. You're thinking outside of the box. You're not waiting for the lead to come to you. You're actually going to the lead. You're planting the idea in their mind, saying, hey, this campground here actually has a really cool Halloween fall color tour thing that you can do. Book now and get the campsite, and get this discount with me. I'm going to throw in a free s'mores kit. So you might be doing like us, actually thinking outside of the box, where you're marketing to people in November and December for July, and you're sending them a coupon code or a promotion, or an incentive. So if you're doing things like that, then you're actually ahead of the curve. You're not just waiting on a platform to send you a lead, and seeing if it's kind of, and too with the platforms, a lot of times it's like a race at the bottom right now. It's like, okay, let me lower my nightly minimum. Let me lower my nightly rental rate. Oh, somebody's complaining about the security deposit. Yeah, let me just go ahead and lower my security deposit down. Oh yeah, we can waive insurance on this rental. They said they've used an RV before. And it's kind of a race to the bottom, and you're getting yourself into these situations. And all of a sudden there's damages, or you say you've got, it doesn't matter if you even have one RV and you're doing like a 2-night minimum. Well, now you've got RVs that every Friday and every Sunday you're busy because you have a 2-night minimum, and that's all people are renting for. You're booked out all summer long, but it's for 2 nights. That's one of the big things I coach, is you've got to raise those nightly minimums. I recommend in the heat of the summer, I recommend a 7-night minimum. A lot of people freak out about that. A lot of my franchisees will go down to like 6 or 5 nights, but I'm very strong on the 7-night minimum. And if you do the math on that, let's say you have a 2-night minimum and it's going out every weekend. Okay, so you've got 8 nights per month there. And then you might get, somebody throughout the week, but usually people's camping trips kind of revolve around a weekend. Well, let's say you have a 5, 6, 7-night minimum. First of all, you have a completely different avatar that you're marketing to. And then avatar, if you're not sure with, marketing terms and phrases, your avatar is like your audience. We think it's that like cute little picture that our kids make on their phones. They call it their avatar. Well, that's been around longer than the cute little avatars or memes that the kids create on the phones. An avatar is your audience, or your target audience, or your market audience that you're advertising to. So if you've got a 2-night minimum, you're going to like the weekend warrior or the last minute booking, or they were going to take their RV for the weekend, but it's at the shop. So they're just renting one because they're going with a bunch of friends anyway. Well, look at it this way. If you do 5, 6, 7-night minimum, what is your avatar now? Well, I tell you what my avatar was when I had my original location in Michigan, where I had about 50 units. My avatar was mom, who was planning the summer camping trip. So literally most of my bookings for June, July, August came in December, January, February, because as most of y'all know, the state campgrounds will open their schedules about 6 months in advance. So literally, I remember years ago, I'd literally be up at 2, 3 in the morning. I'd wake up, look at my phone, take a bunch of bookings, fall back asleep, wake up. Because what would happen is when these websites opened at midnight, mom would jump on. They had their site at the specific campground they wanted. Mom would jump on, book that site for the week, Sunday to Sunday, Saturday to Saturday. They'd book that site because that was the first priority. Then the second step was go on and find a camper. And so that was my avatar. That's where so I would have units that literally we're picking it up on a Saturday or Sunday. It's going right from one renter to the next renter. And so think if you did that. Let's go to a worst case scenario too. Let's say you did that, this 5, 6, 7-night minimum, and you only got 1 booking per month. Well, that would be 7 nights. So now you're renting it 1 night less per month. And so you're actually making a little bit less in this scenario, but how much less work are you doing? So let's say you gave up $100, $125, $150 for that 1 less night you were doing, but now you're literally doing 1 rental per month. How much of your time did you just gain back? Because I think we need to assign a value to our time, right? That old saying, time is money, which I have a different philosophy on that, but I won't get into that. But well, now I want to say a little bit because I got myself. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. Okay, I'll leave it there. We won't go too far into that. So anyway, so you actually gain back 3 Fridays and 3 Sundays from your month, and you cut your revenue by 125, $150. I'd say that's worth it. But that's a worst case scenario. Let's go to a better scenario. Let's say you get 2 bookings. Well, now not only are you still doing half the work you would have done, because now it's 2 bookings instead of 4 of every weekend. Now you're actually renting 10, 12, 14 nights instead of 8 nights. So you're actually making more now and you're doing less. So anyway, that's one way that I would encourage you, think a little differently and switch your avatar, switch your audience. A lot of people freak out about that. And I've had many of franchisees that have done that. And I said, hey, just trust me, just try it. And sure enough, every single time without fail, what happens? Maybe they got 1 booking, maybe they got 2. And then we get to the week before, the booking comes in. Right at the end, who is it? It's a cancellation. It's somebody that was renting someone else's RV, and their RV got damaged in a rental. The owner's freaking out. They got to take it to a repair shop to get fixed. It's going to be weeks or months until it's back in action, this or that. Trust me, the last minute rentals actually come in. And this is something that I almost feel bad saying it, but again, this is a business. So you got to keep that in mind. This is a bit, especially when I'm managing other people's RVs. My duty is to the RV owner, not to the renter, to help them to perform for that RV and get them rentals, generate them revenue. Obviously we want to take care of the customer as well, but our main customer is the RV owner. So think of it this way. You actually, and this happened for us many, many times, you actually get people who they only need it for 3 days. And we have a 5, 6, 7 day minimum, but literally we're the only option at this point. Or we have real nice RVs and we have really amazing photos and we have really amazing reviews. And so they end up booking ours. They end up actually paying more for something that they actually aren't even going to use the full time because they see we're a reputable company. We have really good photos, descriptions, reviews. They see that we have, all these things because they literally, keep in mind, they just experienced an owner just canceled on them. And they say, oh, wait, here's a company that does this full time. This is going to give me some more security, and how many know that's like one of the main needs, especially mom is planning this trip, right? Security for all you husbands, for all of us that are married, all you wives, what's a woman's number 1 need? Security, right? At least my wife and many other wives, it's security. So anyway, that's where everything is on that. So as far as the future of the industry, the future is there. It's strong. We do have tons of inventory, like I mentioned, that kind of needs to, flush itself out. That's going to happen. Wait till the end of the summer. We'll see the inventory is going to go down and then rentals are going to go up because again, the platforms are going to realize, oh man, we made a mistake. Because again, think about this for them, that was a mistake that was made really to boost the inventory so high because they didn't think long-term. They were thinking short-term, okay, let's get a bunch of inventory. But now they have learned that lesson, right? One of my favorite sayings is life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. And you're either winning or you're learning. So they learned a lesson there. And there was actually many RV rental businesses that went out of business during COVID. I had several of them reach out to me that asked me if I wanted to purchase them, which I declined because their business model was buy a bunch of RVs. So they had a bunch of overhead, a bunch of payments, insurance, maintenance, storage. They had all this overhead. So when COVID happened, they had all this overhead and the rentals went down for a while. They weren't able to survive that. For me, as a management company, hundreds of RVs across the nation, that didn't affect us as much. Yeah, our revenue went down for a short period of time, but we didn't have all that overhead. We were able to sustain and go through that period. So another reason why I'm a huge fan of the management business model. So let me go ahead and open it up, see if there's any questions. I know we only got a couple of people on here, but Stacy got me all excited. So I started talking, preaching, sharing, whatever y'all want to call it. Can I get an amen at the end of that? I was excited there sharing all that. Hopefully you guys got some value out of it.
Something I wanted to mention. I know you had mentioned the recession. And like, if you look back 50 years, you know, RVing is something that's kind of remained stable. So I think that's something to take into account. And even like if we do go into recession, you figure what are people going to do is they're going to stay local and they're going to start RVing again because that's a cheaper option than, you know, flying and taking all of these, you know, across country trips. So I think, you know, the stability is always there with RVing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You know, and to that point, Stacy, as well, if you look at other, you know, arms inside of this industry, so let's look at campgrounds. Campgrounds are going up everywhere right now. Campgrounds are selling for a premium. Stacy, you know that because you were looking at buying a campground
Yeah.
last 6 months. So campgrounds are at a premium now because the campgrounds are full. You know, and they're actually, I'm down here in Florida, and they actually just passed a law in regards to people out of state and booking at state parks. I don't know the exact details of it. I just saw it go through my Google feed the other day because there's so much going on with out of staters wanting to come into the state and federal campgrounds. And so the locals were kind of talking about that. But with that being said, with the campgrounds, there is a lot of campgrounds that are being built. Campgrounds are being built by commercial real estate investors. And if you want to talk about somebody who understands the ups and downs of the economy, recessions and getting through them, it's people who are in real estate. Because if you look at the top 1% wealth of the country or the world, they all own real estate. Like, real estate is a major part of their portfolio. They are real estate investors. If you look at the big, Warren Buffett and you know, the top investors wealthy in the world, they own real estate. So the simple fact that there is campgrounds going up all around the nation and commercial lots being sold for a premium turned into campgrounds, that right there speaks a lot to it as well. So
Yeah, I also saw an article recently that Camping World plans to like double the amount of stores that they have in the next 5 years.
oh wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Marcus Lemonis, he gets it. Yeah, and they're in the peer-to-peer space now too. Good Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Marcus Lemonis sees that this industry is not going anywhere at all. You know, and two, there's so many other ways to, make money when you're in this industry with, doing some repairs. I've built, scaled, and sold 2 RV repair facilities through my venture of just my one location that I personally oversaw in Michigan. So we did storage, propane, repairs, insurance claims, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, and I know several of my franchises are, well, your husband, Garth, he left his corporate job of, I forget how many years, and he's a RV tech now. How many?
16.
16 years, yeah.
Yeah.
RV tech, that is a huge industry to be in, especially with the way they're cranking these things out of the factories nowadays.
Yeah, and it always worked well for us too, because when we had the rental business, he was able to do all of the maintenance and repairs on our own fleet. So it added an additional source of income while we were doing the rentals. Plus, we were able to keep the cost down for our owners, and just, have quick turnarounds for the RVs. We didn't have to wait on anyone for parts or service. So that was really helpful.
Oh yeah, that's a great benefit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember when I had my location in Michigan there, I had about 50 units, and I literally had a warehouse that was full of pop-up canopies, college size refrigerators, air conditioning units that vent out the windows. Like my motto was like, we don't cancel the bookings. Like the RV is going out. So I had a solution for any problem like I had backup toilets. I had all the different style. I had so many spare parts just floating around. Well, hey, it looks like we had a couple more people here, John. Why don't we go ahead and jump into Q&A? Does anybody want to put a question in the chat that we can answer, or Unmute yourself and jump on camera and ask a question. Hi, Jen. I've been enjoying you on Facebook. I love your positive vibes you put out there and your positive. I was just sharing. I was going to post this on your Facebook earlier, but I forgot. You had your cool shirt. I have my own clothing brand. It's called Mission Minded Messages, and this is one of my shirts here that I just got.
Nice, I like it.
One of my mentors on Napoleon Hill that I follow a lot.
Nice.
Yeah. You got any question you want to throw out there? Or?
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck did chuck wood, Garr?
Well, it depends on what state you're in because different woods have different types of densities. And then it comes down to genetics, a lot of it, because, based on the genetics of that woodchuck, it could have a different strength tooth. And so if it's got the wrong style of tooth and it, runs into, say, like a bamboo, it's going to be in trouble. Can you tell I've been in sales my whole life? That was pretty good.
There you go. Absolutely. We're doing pretty good. We had a really good conversation the other night with I don't know how to say his name, the outdoorsy guy. Laurier, I guess.
Laurier, yeah.
I mean, we're riding it. We're hoping to have a few more, but we just picked up one more today. I am kind of curious if anybody's renting stuff really small. We just picked up a 12-foot GeoPro that I think is cool as heck, but it's a bed in a box. And we were just kind of wondering how those actually go.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Just for the audience, let me give everybody. So guys, I kind of made a mistake. This tonight was supposed to be a mastermind group for our franchises and our members, but I put a link out there to everybody. So we've got some people in here that aren't part of our franchise or a mastermind group, but that's okay. So anyway, Eric is one of our franchisees. And so he was saying, basically he was talking, we have individual account reps because of our size with the platforms. So he was talking to our rep. Our reps will come on and do like account reviews with us, give us metrics, inside data, stuff like that. And so that's what he was referencing. But yeah, Eric, in regards to the small RVs, it's funny that actually that reminds me of a story I was just talking about the other day. So on the day that number 4 was born, the number 4 that my wife was pregnant with when I bought a camper and that started this whole business, literally my wife, all of our kids have been C-sections. So it's like you kind of get used to the process, so we literally go to the hospital, check in, go do the C-section, come back to the room. I get her checked in, and don't think I'm a horrible husband, guys, please. I'm a good husband. And I get her checked back in the room, and then like we call family, like, all right, you can start coming and hanging out. I'm like, all right, babe, I'll be back. She's like, oh, all right, where are you going? I'm like, I'm just going up to the dealership. I just bought 4 RVs. I gotta go sign the papers. She's like, what? I just had a baby. What are you doing? But anyway, the reason I say that is 2 of the RVs I bought were little. One was a little Gulfstream Amerilite, and one was a little Sportsman. And they were both, the tiny bumper pole. And my thought when I bought those is they're under 5,000 pounds. You don't need a brake control. Like somebody could literally pull up with a van or a little Toyota or whatever, like a lot of different vehicles, and they could tow that off. And yeah, they ended up doing pretty good. I mean, they didn't do as good as really the bunkhouse, the 32-foot bunkhouse, like that has always been like, that's the major one, and then depending on the floor plan, they get a little more specific to how popular they are, if it's like a double over double or like an actual bunk room. Like I know for me, it was always important in the RVs I always bought or used. I always wanted the bunk rooms to have a door that closed and a master bedroom that have a door that closed, because I'm thinking, hey, like I'm a guy and I want like my privacy at night, I'm in my room, you're in your room, y'all can think of all the different reasons why that would be. But yeah, I mean, they did pretty good. What I would recommend you do with that, kind of like I was sharing earlier, like, don't necessarily just rely on the platforms. Find some of the groups like the hiking, the outdoorsy Facebook groups and post a link to it in there. That would definitely be a way to generate some traffic to it. and then it always, and I'm sure Lori told you this on your coaching call with him. And they preach it everywhere. It's in all their startup email sequences, and people just kind of blow over it. Like photos, photos, photos. And if you think about it, like in the real estate world, like, because we've all bought houses before or sold houses. Think about it when you're online and you're looking at a house you're going to buy. The photos are like the first thing you look at before you decide to do a showing, to go view the house. Photos are so important, like literally, like the blinds up, all the lights on, very decluttered and clean, maybe a couple staging things on there. Like those are super, super important, is having good photos, good lighting, tons of photos. But yeah, and then too, Eric, final thought on that is it always, things are just area specific too, so you might find your area, it's like a super big hit in your area and it rocks out, or you might find that, it does okay, or, it doesn't do anything at all. People, big one with that is like the toy haulers and stuff. People are like, oh, they think it's going to do really good, and it totally flops, or another area, it's a complete rock star. So, anybody else? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right now, it looks like if we had 10 Class Cs, we'd be having a really, really good year right now around here. It seems to be the biggest request, but there's people are really leery around here to consign drivables way more than they are towables. So it's an interesting process, but we're learning and we're loving it. So it's all good, man.
Awesome. Yeah, Class Cs are definitely the way to go. That's for sure. I still have, that's the only RV I still have now. I've sold all my units, but I have one 2017 Jayco Greyhawk 31F bunkhouse. And yeah, that unit, I could get heck $300-400 a night sometimes for it in the summer. So, yeah.
And you were going to
Maybe
send
just
me
pop on there
that
for a
park
minute.
model for our own use, right? You were going to send me that for free. I think you told me.
Yeah, you didn't get it? I put it in the mail. Yeah.
I'm glad things are going good. The ranch going well?
The ranch is for sale. Yep, we bought a house now. We did a 5-year full-time RV, and now we're in a house. We went from a 400 square foot RV to a 4,000 square foot house.
Awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Thanks. Hey, anybody else got a question you want to throw out there, or something you want to throw in the chat?
Hi, my name is Cami. I'm brand new here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Cammy, I can hear you.
Hey, we are really experienced with Airbnb. We've been doing it for 7 years. And I have a Sprinter van and I have a Thor, which is a Mercedes. I think it's a Class C. It's like a 22-footer. And then also a bumper pull trailer that we were going to try to start renting. But we've never jumped in because we're so scared to let people actually drive our Airbnbs away.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. That's a hard one. Yeah, I have Airbnbs as well, and it's definitely a little different venture. Someone showing up to your Airbnb and using it in comparison to them jumping in it or hooking it up and leaving with it, right?
Yeah, we have an older one. I think it's a 2005 Class C motorhome up in the Northwest near Mount Rainier. And we thought, you know what, if anybody's going to mess something up, why not let them try that one? So we were kind of wondering, it's older. I don't know, without a complete remodel inside. I mean, there's nothing, well, the fridge doesn't work right now, but if we fixed it, everything would be fine. It's just kind of 2005 ugly.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, you want to check with the insurance on that would be your first step, because they only go back so far, and I'm not in a lot of the day-to-day, so I don't know. Stacy, do you know by chance how far they go back? Put that in the chat, or
I think it's only 15 years.
15 years. Okay. So yeah, that one wouldn't work. And to answer your question about you're worried about damages. I'll just, alleviate that worry for you. Damages are going to happen. It's part of the business.
Yeah, I mean, we know just with Airbnb, we understand, but I mean, these kind of damages are like, oh, whoops, I sideswiped a stop sign, didn't realize that your rig was that big, even though it's tiny.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Trust me. I've seen it all. I've had units that literally were like a travel trailer, it's a box that we get a picture and it's totally unfolded on the side of the highway.
Oh
They're
my
like, yeah, I
God.
don't know what happened. Something happened and all of a sudden we were in the ditch, and praise God they were all okay. Like the whole family and their 2 dogs were all fine, but the camper was completely opened up. And
Well, so how is that handled? Is that you have to buy separate insurance outside of like outdoorsy, or how does that work?
typically we go with the insurance, whatever platform it came through. Then we have, since we're considered a dealer, if it's something we get on our own, we have insurance for that. But yeah, if you're booking it through outdoorsy, your best bet is just to use the outdoorsy insurance. Unless you're getting into this and scaling, then you might, possibly look into other avenues if you want to. But yeah, you typically just go with the platform's insurance, and it's unfortunately, it still hasn't all worked itself out, the insurance on this industry, kind of like, with owning an Airbnb, like one of my Airbnbs, I've only had one claim ever. And I,
Dang.
used get what it's called, Airbnb's insurance, and they never paid me. It's still an open case apparently, and they're still working on it. It's been 2 years.
Hey, if you need some help with that, just send me an email. I'm pretty good at that. I've probably had about 20 claims, having 2 major claims over $30,000. So if you need help with that, I'd be happy. It's all about the documentation.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. Honestly, I don't even know. The last time I kind of gave up because it was stressing me out. It was under $1,000.
Oh, it's not worth stressing yourself out for that amount of money.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm not even gonna follow up anymore because it's just they keep blowing me off.
How long ago
Oh,
was
we're gonna
this?
escalate that.
Yeah, it's changed a lot in the last 6 months. Anything under about $500, they just pay it out quick.
Oh, nice. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where the peer-to-peers are. Like they're still trying to figure out the insurance piece. And that's what Outdoorsy was doing about a year ago. If it was under a certain amount, they would just pay it out in-house. But I think they just switched again and now they're not doing that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So what are the major like things that you need to know as far as doing an RV versus an Airbnb?
Well, what you nailed it on the head with documentation. That's the big thing is, photos before, paperwork, photos after. We've actually got, actually it's all supposed to be done at 7:45. Stacy, go ahead and put that link in the chat. We actually have, we're going to make an offer tonight to everybody. We actually have a whole course with every single thing you need for renting. It's typically it's got, Stacy, just put the link in the chat there. It's got so much stuff in it. It's literally got everything you need, A to Z for rent your RV. It's got everything in there. It's a course that we normally sell for like, I forget, like $9.97. I think tonight we're just giving away for like $97.
Wow.
Yeah. So Stacy, she put it in the chat there. So yeah, it's got everything you need. As detailed as setting up an LLC all the way to setting your rates, to deciding add-ons, to your forms, to your processes, to marketing, to it's everything. It's a whole business in a box. It's literally
Okay. Yep. That's how I got started with Airbnb, and it's made me $1 million. So yeah,
So you
I know
get
what
it. Yep. Find a coach, and one of my mentors is Tony Robbins.
Yep.
And he says, if find somebody who's done it and do what they do. No need to reinvent the wheel.
So true. So is anyone doing this up in the Northwest? I think the biggest thing for us would be turnover, because we live in Texas, but we are in the Northwest for the summer.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So you're saying, sorry, what was your question?
Maybe somebody to manage the motorhome to keep turning it over?
Yeah, we have a couple locations in Texas. Where are you at in the Northwest?
We are near Mount Rainier, so Eatonville, Tacoma, that area.
You know how bad I am with directions? Like I don't even know what state you're talking about right now.
Oh, Washington State. My bad. I'm
Washington
sorry.
State. Okay. No, that's more me. The funny thing about that is I've literally spent the last 5 years traveling the country with my wife and 4 kids. And I'm horrible. I rely so much on Google Maps. I'm like, okay, where's that? Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we've got about 20 locations around the country. So we could definitely refer you to a location. I don't think we have one in Washington, but we could get you somewhere near there if you're
Do
looking.
you
for
have
an
anything
entertainment.
near Pigeon Forge? That's where we are right now. Visiting, we're just visiting.
Stacy,
That's in Tennessee, by the way. It's the
I
Smoky
have
Mountains.
heard of Pigeon Forge. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
actually
have-
have.
We have a location
have-
in Knoxville.
Okay, that's an hour away from where we are.
Yep, and we're
that's
we
probably the
just signed a
closest.
location today in Manchester.
Manchester, where's that at?
That's like an hour from one of the big places. Let me see here. 1 second, I'm gonna check this chat that I had with somebody earlier, and she said, she's Manchester, Tennessee, just an hour from Nashville, she says.
Okay,
I think that's north, maybe west.
cool.
So yeah, Stacy, if you want to put that link in the chat for the RV rental management, you can go on there and fill out a contact form, Cammy, and then.
Yep, it's done. I already did it. So I didn't get
Okay,
any
cool.
email or anything kicked back yet, but I don't know if that takes time.
Okay. Oh, maybe she sent it to you in a message. I just didn't see it in the chat here. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I went a couple minutes over here. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. My wife and I are gonna finish our date night. And
Fun.
y'all have a great night. Good talking to everybody. And we're gonna try to keep doing these on Thursday. So we'll just follow us there on Facebook and you'll see another invite.
Thank you for the invite, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good night. Okay.
Bye-bye.